Hi, good morning. And I just want to start off by saying I could not believe how amazing the sunrise was today. I took some photos and I will do a short video about that later when I get time. So, if you were really lucky enough to see the sunrise this morning, I know it was probably going to be people that were having to go to work before 5 a.m. But oh my God, it was just absolutely amazing to see something so positive. Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. Red sky morning, shepherd's warning. But anyway, the sunrise today was incredible. So I'm sorry, that's my alarm. Let me just turn it off. Um, so yeah, I'm just doing a quick video this morning because I haven't done one for a few days, live that is. Obviously I have been posting, but this is the first time I've done one live. Now, I am, as you can probably gather from the videos I'm currently uploading as I speak, I'm having my boiler service today, hopefully, and fixed and put in properly. So that has been really stressful because I've been trying to get my landlord to actually get this sorted now for over 2 years. And people are probably saying, no way, that has got to be a joke. No, trust me. My landlord is happy to take my money, party in Ibiza. But when it comes to fixing problems with the houses that he's inherited from his dad's business, he doesn't do anything. So, and unfortunately, I have had to get environmental health involved. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I've been trying to be as patient with him as possible. And it has not just affected my mental health, it's affected the whole family's. So, the moment I got told that my boiler hadn't been plugged in correctly, it was like, oh my God, quick, you're going to go live with your dad until this gets sorted. That hasn't happened. I think they only stay there for about 24 hours just to be on the safe side. But fingers crossed it is going to get fixed today and I will feel more happier and safer to have my children sleep under the same roof as me, knowing that my boiler has been serviced and is safe. But it is a battle of wills. There are so many rogue landlords out there, and it's not just landlords. Housing associations aren't always that great either, and if you're lucky enough to get a council property, they're even worse at times. But anyway, let's stop being negative and focus on the positive, like that amazing sunrise. So unfortunately, there's probably not going to be anybody around. It is only 8 o'clock in the morning. But I thought, while I've got a few minutes to drink a cup of tea, yawn, and make sure that the kitchen is in a condition that can be worked in, and and hopefully nothing will get damaged even more than it already has been, then hopefully my boiler will get done. So while I am drinking my tea, what could I talk about? What could we possibly do? And at the moment, I guess one of the things I could talk about is homeschooling, as this seems to be one of the books that itchy ear, that I have got, that I use for my son. Now, and if you look on the back, it gives you a list of all of the other books done by this company and the ISBN number. So there's two ways that obviously I could use this book. One way would be to just allow my son to write in pencil in there. And the other is probably what the teachers would do. And that would be to photocopy or photograph the page, upload it onto social media, like onto Paint on his laptop, or sorry, his computer, which has no internet access, I might add. It is so archaic. The only thing it is good for is word processing and a little bit of art. But that's what I want. I don't really want him being distracted when I am teaching him. I mean, some of these would be really good for my 5-year-old. And some of it, to be honest, he's 8. So he's not, there isn't really anything amazing. But one of the good things that is in this book is a map of the United Kingdom. And I already have a map on the wall behind me, which has a list of every single county within the United Kingdom. So what I could potentially do is say to him, okay, here is a blank copy of the United Kingdom, fill it in, but do it online. And we actually found 2 really useful YouTube pages that I subscribed for him yesterday. One was done, it was amazing how they did it. You watch stuff and you think, oh my God, that seems so simple. Why didn't I think of that? But, someone else has done it, so why not use it? And there's this guy, and he does a lot of geography. There's a few people that do like geography aimed at young people. There's one who they create songs. They are so funny. And I could literally sit there and watch them all day myself. So I have to say, no, don't do that. And then there's this one where he has like a blank map of the United Kingdom or Africa or Asia. And he's been trying to name as many different places within those countries or within that continent. And every time he types it in, he has to kind of guess where things are. So for example, he might have on the app that he uses, that is Scotland, that is England, that is Wales. And then we have Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and the Outer Hebrides are, sorry, I'm having to do it backwards, are up here. And there is the English, and so where is France? Where would France be? Sorry, it's because I'm having to mirror image. Believe. No, it's not there. It's the other side. I can't do it. I'm really struggling. There. France is... because there's Cornwall. Oh, I used to do this all the time, and now I've forgotten. But anyway, it's because I'm having to watch my finger on through the screen. So when I wanted to go left, so this is left for me. It's right, and then when I go right, that is left. So I really struggle, especially with having dyspraxia. And I mean, I can drive. Trust me, I have a driver's license. But yeah, so anyway, a map like this would be really, really good for my son because he loves maps and he loves geography and he loves maths. So, and then obviously another good one would be road signs. Oh God, this is so hard to do. Again, because it's things that they see on a daily basis. So it's just familiarizing them. And then obviously the compass, north, south, east, west, never eat shredded wheat. And then obviously you have north, northwest, north, north, south. You have all of the other parts of a compass. Planning a journey. So I'm just kind of like flitting through this. And then you go to the page where it actually asks you to fill it in. and it's already given you the first letter. So I probably wouldn't give him that one. I'd probably give him the one where he doesn't tell you what they are. Another one that's really interested in this book, which is obviously about geography, it's about the ecosystem. So it talks about urban and rural life. And one of the things that it has in there is the option for children to do a survey on what they see, depending on where they live. So we're quite lucky because we do have a back garden. And if you watch some of my videos, like the one I'm currently uploading, you'll see that. So all of these we get in the garden all the time. I mean, one of the things that I have hated is that I have allowed the garden to go wild. But like I said, I was so pissed off with my landlord. I've been so annoyed that I've been waiting so long to have repairs done to the property that I haven't been doing the garden. I haven't been outside. I haven't been enjoying being outdoors. Plus, it's been quite wet this year as well, which hasn't helped. So I've literally just allowed the garden to go wild. So I haven't had as many varieties of flowers in the garden this year because I haven't sowed any. Usually I put wild flowers down every year without fail. This year I didn't even bother to do that. So the only thing that's grown this year is daisies, which isn't a bad thing because daisies is the flower of choice that I'm using to promote awareness of how people are being treated by the Department of Work and Pensions. So I think, it's important that people know about these different things and have these awarenesses. So when I went into hospital, I didn't wear a lanyard that had sunflowers on. One, because I don't have one. And two, I had one with daisies. And nobody ever asked me what that meant. People just assumed it was just a lanyard. So I think I'm going to really have to push that one. And again, it's because of that limbo. The reason I've chosen to wear daisies again is because I don't want to wear sunflowers because I am not at the moment officially claiming benefits as a disabled person. But even people who are disabled, not everybody claims benefits and not everybody wants to be stigmatized. So people know that if someone's wearing a lanyard with sunflowers on, not everybody knows this, but most people know it, that it means that they have a hidden disability, and then their attitude towards that person, it can change slightly. So I wanted to see if that would happen if people wore a lanyard, but it was something different. Because one of the things that a lot of parents who have SEN children will say is, I don't want to wear my child to wear a lanyard. I don't want them to be stigmatized. But sometimes, because of the ignorance and the lack of education within society, you feel like you have to walk around with like a big sign around your neck saying, I'm sorry if you think I'm being an absolute twat, but I've got Tourette's, or I might sound like I'm drunk, but I've got cerebral palsy, or, yes, I have a guide dog and a walking stick, but that doesn't mean I'm 100% blind, and you just feel like you have to do that. And one of the other things as well is to do with culture. When I used to work in retail, one of the girls, she always wore her jihad, which is basically her headscarf. She never wore the full face covering. I always forget now what that's called. And so she'd wear her uniform and she would wear her headscarf on her head. And I remember the manager, oh my God, I wanted to jump over the table and punch her in the face. She says to her, "Do you have to wear that thing on your head for work?" And she said it in front of everybody in the staff room. So she didn't even talk to her in the office on her own. And she said, "Well, yeah, it's part of my religion. It's part of my culture. Why aren't I allowed? Why? You didn't tell me in my job interview." Bearing in mind, I'd probably worked with this young lady for a good several months. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the manager's like, "Oh, well, we would prefer it if you didn't wear it." And she's like, "But I've been here like over a year, and you've only just said to me you don't want me to wear my jihad." And she was like, "Yes, but that girl doesn't wear one. That girl doesn't wear one." And she started pointing at all of the other girls around the table who were not white. And one of them, I always remember her because her name was Talvia, and I always loved that name, Talvia. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm Indian. We wear saris." And she said, "I'm not going to wear a sari for work because it's not my uniform, but there's nothing wrong with wearing a head covering." And then there was another girl, and she said, "Well, no, I don't wear it because I'm a different religion. I'm Sikh," or she was whatever religion she was, and she says, I have to wear it. It's part of my culture. If I don't wear it, I will be dishonoring my family. So she obviously came from quite a strict family who were Muslim, and it was part of her religion. And I just felt the whole attitude and the ignorance towards her by my manager was absolutely disgusting. And then obviously the facade of the company literally started to crumble away at that point. People were being picked up on for all sorts of reasons. And with myself, again, I'd been there over a year, and they wanted me to do tills. And I said, "I'm not till trained. So I've never done tills. You don't want to be putting me on tills. Why? Because I've got dyslexia, I've got dyspraxia, I've got dyscalculia. I would struggle." And yet up until that point of me telling them that I had my disabilities, I had managed a whole department by myself unassisted. The moment I told them that I didn't want to go on tills because I felt like it would cost the business money, because I was more likely to make a mistake if I'm like having to try and type in numbers, because there was none of this scanning items. You had to read the number of the product and then put it into the till manually. So it was just like using a big calculator. And I said, at times I can read numbers backwards, and I don't want to be on a till and be typing in, like, if something was 199, I was to then type in 99.1. Because that would cause problems. Whereas if I'm told, oh, go to the warehouse, stock the shelves, I can visually look at an item on a shelf and say, okay, I don't need to read the stock number of that item. I can look at that item and say, okay, that is a pillow. It is purple with pink spots, and I need 5 of them to fill a space on the shelf. And that is how I got around my disability. But the moment I told them about my disability and how I didn't feel that putting me on tills would be a good idea, their whole attitude towards me changed. And it was the same with, obviously, the young lady who wore the jihad. And I left. I just remember doing a shift one day and then just walking up to the office and going, as of today, this is my last day, I'm leaving. Here's my week's notice. And I just walked straight out. And I never went back. And everybody who knew me or saw me in town was like, fucking hell, I can't believe you just did that. I can't believe you walked up to management and just basically said, stick your job where the sun don't shine. And I was like, I didn't tell them to stick their job where the sun don't shine. Where did you hear that? And the amount of rumours that were flying around about how I'd quit my job, I told my boss to fuck off, how I told them they were this and they were that. And I was like, I didn't say anything of the sort. I was going to college. I had been given an opportunity to go to university with the Open University. I was going away for a week to do my exams. Sadly, I didn't pass. I did fail. And I was not prepared to work for a company any longer who, when I offered to take on a full-time position, they refused to give me that full-time position because I wasn't till trained. They refused to give me that full-time position, and they said because they felt that because of my dyslexia that I wouldn't be able to cope. And I'm standing there thinking, what a load of bullshit. I've already worked for you for over a year. You find out that I have dyslexia and you're using that as a way to not employ me full time. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm leaving. So I did. I left. I had this huge fight with my parents about it. They were absolutely livid. They were like, you stupid cow. How dare you quit your job? I'm going to college. I'm going to university. I don't want to be in retail anymore. I want a proper job. I want a job where I'm going to earn proper money. I need an education. If you come back from university and you fail your exams, what are you going to do? You shouldn't have quit your job without my permission. And they threatened to kick me out for quitting my job. And I said to them, look, I gave my employer a choice. You either let me take the time off work to go to uni for a week, which they refused, or I won't go to university and you give me a full-time position. And they did neither. So I was like, fuck it. I am not going to give up the opportunity to go to university to do my end of year exams for national minimum wage. And to be told that I wasn't good enough to work for somebody full time because they classed me as being disabled. So I left. And my biggest regret is that as I got older, I was made to feel like my decision to leave was wrong. And that if I ever did that again in any other line of work, I'd be punished. Not just by the fact that I wouldn't have a job and the Department of Work and Pensions would sanction me, which they've already done in the past anyway, but I'd become homeless, that my family would basically throw me onto the streets. And so the biggest regret I have in my life is that after my dad passed away, I asked my employer if I could have time off to go to Poland to scatter his ashes. It was going to be an all expenses paid trip. I wouldn't have had to have paid for this trip. And it would have been with my sister and it would have been with my brother. And I said to my employer, look, can I please just have this weekend off, this Friday off, to go to Poland to scatter my dad's ashes? And he said, no, you're not going. If you don't turn up for work on Friday, I'll fire you. And I remember going home because I was kind of still living with my mum at the time. and my grandfather, who I don't see anymore. And I said, I've just been told by my employer that if I don't go to work on Friday and I go to Poland to scatter my dad's ashes, they're going to fire me. If that was to happen, would I still be able to live with you? And they said, no. If you get fired, we'll kick you out. And I just remember ringing my sister when she got to the airport and said to her, what time's the flight? And she said, oh, we're going to board in an hour. And I said, okay, where are you? And I said, I'm at work, but I haven't had the phone ring once all day. My bag was packed. I was this close to literally throwing the keys, like locking the door to the office, throwing the keys through the letterbox and saying, fuck you to my employer. I had my passport, I had my money for my taxi, and I said, please, can you check, have I got a ticket? And they said, no, we aren't going to allow you to come now. And I just remember, like, when she got home, she hugged me and she kissed me and she told me how much she loved me. And my brother did the same. And I don't think she took many photographs. I don't remember seeing any. And I just said, thank you for doing that for me. It meant the world that they did that for my dad, that they paid respects to my dad and they went and scattered his ashes. But I didn't. And that's my biggest regret in my life, is that I chose my employer over my family. And it really hurts still. Because that was in the September. And then in the February the following year, he fired me anyway. And I was just so devastated that I had put a job before my dad again, and that my people are threatened with the fact of homelessness over supporting their loved ones. So I always say to people, you know, you can always get another job, but you can't replace people once they've gone. So that is why I don't regret homeschooling my son. I mean, I know it can be really, really hard at times, but the time I have with my children, I will never get that back. So for me personally, to have chosen my employer over scattering my dad's ashes was the biggest mistake of my life that I ever made. And obviously I'm not going to name that person, but you know, it just goes to show as a species how heartless we are and how uncaring we are. And I think it's good as well that some people have managed to change the law. So I think one law got changed recently by a mother who lost her child. So she wanted the law to change so that parents could have time off work to grieve the loss of a child. But again, to take time off for grievance, I think they only give you something like 1 to 2 days. When my dad died, I remember phoning up my employer and saying, I'm taking 2 weeks off work. And if you don't like it, fire me. And my mom was more than happy for me to take 2 weeks off work to help her bury my dad. But when I said to her, I want to go and scatter his ashes in Poland, if my boss was to fire me for going, would you still house me? She said no. So I just found that a bit hypocritical of her, that she was happy for me to take 2 weeks off and potentially lose my job when my dad died. But when I wanted to honour him and do something for him that I know he would have appreciated, she wouldn't house me. And I think it's sad when that happens with families. And that is happening so much now in today's society, that people just aren't there anymore for one another. Hi, I don't know who's joined me, but if you want to say hello, please do so. I'm just doing, well, it was supposed to be just a quick tea and chat, and I know that I've been on here for half an hour. And I was just talking about, obviously, homeschooling and one of the books that I use to homeschool my child. And then, obviously, I've got onto other issues as usual. It just seems to happen a lot when I talk online. You just kind of, I just sort of talk about anything, really. I don't have a set schedule or guideline about what I should talk about or would talk about. If people did want me to talk about anything in particular, then please leave some notes or some comments, and I'd be happy to do that. Just trying to... Oh, he'll like this one. It's all right. My son, he loves transport. So he can, what I'll do is I'll photograph this on my phone and then put it into paint for him so that he can do it. And then the book's not going to get damaged. And then obviously that is a car. So, I mean, I got this one from a charity shop. It was a local charity shop to where I live. It's called Second Time Around. They are absolutely amazing. They're based in Nuneaton on Church Road near St. Paul's Church. So if you ever want a charity shop that's open Monday to Friday only, they're not open at weekends, or they are absolutely amazing for learning resources. And the other one, which is really good, is the Mary Ann Evans Hospice, which is our local charity for Nuneaton. Named after Mary Ann Evans, who is also known as George Eliot, who was the famous author for Nuneaton. And in the Mary Ann Evans, they have a little tea room as well. And so I love going there with my little boy to get secondhand learning journals and stuff, because things get thrown away all the time. And I always say, don't just chuck stuff in the bin, reduce, reuse, and recycle. So a lot of his stuff, like his books, I've got those from charity shops. And sometimes they will even give you them for free if you tell them that you're homeschooling your children. Another thing my son loves, I know it's the 2000s, is atlases. And so I'm being quite lucky. He hasn't destroyed this atlas. And if you look in the back, again, there's loads of different information about all the different countries within Europe. Just trying to... So, I mean, even something like this, I do apologise if the picture isn't that great. unless obviously any of the boundaries were to change, most of these countries are still in the same location and have still got the same names. And again, this has got like 300 of the greatest sites within Europe to go and view. So it doesn't matter that this map is from 2002. Sorry, 2000. It's still a really, really good educational tool for him. One of the other things I have done with my kids is we've brought globes. And I love vintage globes. So we've got a few dotted around the house. I did buy them one that when you press the button, it actually has the star constellations. So it was like a nightlight with a globe, etc. But they threw it down the stairs and we're using it as a football. So I still have it and I'm planning on fixing it somehow. I just haven't got around to it yet. But one of the globes that I've actually got, which is very old, it actually shows you places that no longer exist. And one of them, for example, is places like Tibet and Persia, etc., places like that, that obviously no longer exist. Tibet on new globes that you get for your children isn't on there. It's classed as China. What is on there, though, is still... Gosh, I always forget where it is. Uganda, Yugoslavia... Mongolia, sorry, Mongolia. But Mongolia is on there. It's called Inner and Outer Mongolia. So one of the projects I did do with my children was they had to research Mongolia. And it was really interesting to find that in China, they still actually allow people to speak their own language. Whereas in Mongolia, which I believe has been taken over by Russia, they don't. They have forced them to basically be indoctrinated into the Russian language, the Russian alphabet. And it just amazes me how China haven't done that yet. Yet they have tried to totally eradicate countries like Tibet. They've now taken over other countries where they are basically forcing people to conform to Chinese values and traditions. But it's not all doom and gloom. So it is, I think, geography is very important. So English, maths, science, history and geography are the main 5 subjects that I am homeschooling my child with. And then obviously we also do art and music as well. So they are also subjects he enjoys. And then obviously personal physical education. So I think that's really, really important. I don't think sitting in a classroom all day would have helped him. Not only that, it wouldn't have helped the other students either. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say. To be honest, I'm a bit lost for words. I guess the most amazing thing today, the most positive thing today, was that sunrise. I will do some short videos about that later and try and put them on YouTube for people to watch. But apart from that, I think I'm probably going to go now. It's almost been an hour. But no one ever says anything. So it would be nice to actually have someone say hello. So wherever you are in the world today, enjoy today. And remember, there is nothing more important in life than family. Thank you.